Thanks, Jamie.
Thanks, Jamie.
My name's Maxine A. I'm a drug addict.
Hi, Maxine.
Yes, please, for the timer. Thank you for asking me, Tony. And I apologise to the group for not being in the right place to be able to carry a message last time when I turned up here. So I do apologise, and thank you to the group for finding somebody at short notice. I'm just going to try and not look around the room. I'm going to try and look at somebody that I was talking to outside, just because I'm very aware that there are some long-term hard hitters in this room, and it is quite intimidating, and I am full with fear. And I was getting ready earlier and just thinking to myself, you know, what's the worst that can happen? I could vomit over myself, and that would be okay. Do you know what I mean? It would show the newcomer that we are just human, and we mess up sometimes. The book tells me, you know, to describe what it was like, blah, and what I did and what it's like now. You know, I 18, 19 years ago, I had a severe drug problem. I couldn't stop using. If I did stop using, I would obsess about not using or obsess about using, whichever way that would go, but still there would be an obsession. I was drug dealing. I was putting myself in dangerous situations. My childhood, I always thought that my childhood had a massive big part to play in that. You know, I was very victim to, you know, abuse and dysfunction and finger pointing and blame and yeah, if you know, my words were that classic, if you had a childhood like mine, you would have gone the way that I did. And it was just a blame game. My whole life was a blame game. And can still be now. I'm under no illusion, you know, when I'm not in fit spiritual condition, which happens quite regularly, because I made a decision at 3, but I make a choice every day, and sometimes my willingness is not as willing as it was the day before, therefore I'm not as well as I was the day before. So yeah, I came into a 12-step program by taking my mum, who was the problem. I have since had an opportunity to make amends with her before she passed, and that was all thanks to some sobriety days that I accumulated in a different fellowship. And that fellowship was a lot of writing. Nothing changed. I wasn't connected to a power, and my behaviour didn't change. It would take me 2 hours to get ready to go to a meeting. It was all about who was there, how maximised I could, you know, I'm not allowed to swear, but, you know, drop something on the floor when I didn't need to be dropped, and precariously walk to the toilet when I didn't need the toilet, and maximise the attention and all of that stuff. And that's who I was sort of 18 years ago, and again can still be now if I'm not okay. I accumulated 3.5 years. I got through to a step 7, I want to say. I made like 1 amends, and nothing changed. I don't know how I made it through. You know, I stopped drug dealing. I changed all my friends because I'm from Bournemouth, and I was drug dealing in Bournemouth. So I changed my friends, changed my number, did all that sort of basic stuff. But I was saying to the lady outside, I had a parcel buried in my plant pot. So I bring everybody out from the meetings to my house, and the plant pot was there, and it was just that ease and comfort that I knew it was there, and I could make a different choice if I wanted to. Crazy, insane thinking. But 3.5 years in that fellowship, and the mantra was just don't pick up the first one, just don't pick up the first one. And I wholeheartedly believed that that's what I needed to continue to do, just not pick up the first. If I don't pick up the first, it's not going to propel me into using more. The obsession's not going to be there, and I really truly believed that with my whole heart. What they also said in those meetings was it's going to, you know, you pick up and it's going to take you back to the last day of using, and that wasn't my experience. So what happened is I got into a relationship, moved away from the fellowship of the just don't pick up the first one, moved out of area, disconnected from everything, and the pain that I was going through life stuff was quite overwhelming. And I went to Thailand. My sister passed away, and in Thailand everyone said, you know, you're going to disconnect from your fellowship, be really, really careful. And I was like, yeah, I know what I am. And I'd had this little bit of clean time, and I went to Thailand and accepted a drink that I knew was insane. We were talking about it outside. It's like I knew deep down inner, and I drank from this bowl, and something quite horrific happened. Something quite horrific happened, and that was it. I'm in Thailand. I've got my sister's ashes. I've got a job to do, and this catastrophic thing has happened. And straight away, the victim from before, because I've got no power at this point. I've just got like a life story of drama and chaos and anarchy and Maxine running on self and making these crazy decisions and this addiction and this mind and this everything about me that is just warped. And I continued to drink and use because I'd set it off. And still, to this day, I remember that feeling of like, here we go again, how it's always been. And my life's always been that, If I ever had a period of time where I could put it down, my mind would just be so obsessed about not. And I've got quite a lot of self-will. I can not make it look like all those people have said. I can not make it look like what I'm told. I can not make it look like the horror stories that I hear. I can do that of my own power. I can do that so that I don't fall into that category of being an addict, and really believe that stuff. 2 people from this fellowship were on holiday over in Thailand, and they came over, and I was on anti-HIV medication, antiviral medication, and I'd set this thing off, and unbeknown to me, somehow, and I believe this to be a God intervention, I stayed in contact with these 2 guys, and they came over, and how are you, Maxine? And I was like, I couldn't lie. Do you know what I mean? The eyes can't lie. And I was like, I'm really, really not okay. And they knew my sister, and my sister died of cancer, and they knew my journey, and they knew my mum was in fellowship and at the time, and they kind of, because I'm one of those people that everybody knows, or, I like everybody to know what I present, the actor, the actress. And again, still today, I like that. Still today, I like that. Until I'm sat up here and I know that, the stuff that I'm shared is from in here, and it's my experience, I desperately want to have crime involved, and I desperately want to have prison involved, and I desperately want to have heroin involved, because it's like that game where you knock down some, and then the ones that are left are still engaged. But the truth is, most of you have got an experience, strength and hope of your own. You've got a power, hopefully, that you're connected to. Hopefully it's about the lady that's still suffering, the man that's still suffering, or the person who's a long time that's going through some stuff and they just can't be honest. And I've had that experience too. So 2 guys from this fellowship carried the message, and what they did is they shared a room and gave me one of their rooms and picked me up every day and drove me to them and took me to a meeting, and everybody carried around the white chip and everybody prayed on it. And they left, and you'd think, right, I've got cigarettes that have been put out on me, I'm torn, I'm in trouble, and I've set this thing off, but I've been to this meeting, so I've done what needs to do, and I've got a couple of days of like being clean, and I think that I'm okay. And these 2 guys from this fellowship flew back to England. And so I'm left on my own. And I still have my sister's ashes that didn't get taken in the attack. And I had a job to do, because Maxine's a workaholic still. And I had a job to do. So I make my way over to this little island, put my sister's ashes exactly where they needed to be. Again, self-will, where The Beach was filmed. Leonardo DiCaprio and me and her were going to snort cocaine there one day. And I made it there. I made it to this beach with this pirate, dangerous situation, because Maxine's running on self. Still taking myself with me and this fucking disease. And this thinking, and me, I pretended to have Wi-Fi. I remember that. I was on this pirate boat with just me and this pirate before the sun went up, and I'm like, yeah, I'm just about to do it now, in the middle of the ocean. Could have been outed, by the grace wasn't, and put my sister's ashes there. I went back to this island. The 2 guys from this fellowship had gone home, and it's party time. I ended up going to a full moon party, breaking both my feet. The only reason, and I guarantee this, it's the only reason that I honoured, that had a bit of integrity about me at that time, is I came back and went to the Wednesday meeting that I've seen Sarah at, and it's not there anymore, but I went back to that meeting and I had these moon boots on, and they both said, please come, and because they'd not tried to sleep with me, basically, weren't up for my manipulation at the time, because no doubt I was presenting like a peacock at times, and I wasn't used to being treated properly, and they weren't about that. They were about this and the traditions and the fellowship and carrying the message to the addicts who still suffers. And I was suffering, and they could see it, and they did what we do here, right? And it's the only reason I went to that Wednesday night meeting. I walked into this meeting, and I stood up and got a white key ring, and walked to the front. I didn't, that's a lie. I kind of hobbled, picked up the white key ring, and a lady grabbed a hold of me and said, you're going to use again, turn up at my house with a blue book. And I was terrified. Because I've nearly died in Thailand. But to me, it's like, if that's all right, I'd still made it to my, and made it home, and I'm safe and all of that stuff. And I was in trouble. And what I come to learn is that I'm fundamentally different from others. You know, it mightn't look like you're using and drinking. I haven't really gone into it, but I drank, I used it. It used me, and I couldn't stop. And it took me to places where I just wanted to die. Numerous times I would wake up and I just couldn't. I couldn't. You know, I was deserving of it. Everything that happened in my life, I was deserving of it. The pain that I would wake up, I was deserving of. It talks about the horseman, and you know, I can't look the world in the eye. Even now, if I'm not okay, I can't fucking breathe. I can't breathe. I can't look the world in the eye. I can't sit on the top table and share because I think everyone's judging me and like I'm transparent, like I'm some Rizzler. Like nobody cares, Maxine. You're not that important. You're not the nucleus of the world, you know. But sometimes I really reinstate myself in that. And got that key ring, went to this woman's house, and she went through the blue book of Alcoholics Anonymous. And when she started talking about the actor, I was like, what? Why didn't they tell me that when I was going to all those meetings? Spending all that money on perfume and body lotion and matching underwear for that fellowship. Why didn't they tell me that? And went through the pages of this book and the identification through Bill's story. And between, you know, those first 164 pages, I had a 1-2. I got told I was at 3. I got told to write a 4. I cleared out some stuff and my pen was on fire. I'm not resentful was the first words that come out, and I was resentful. Like I hated everyone and everything, but most importantly, I hated myself and everything that came out of this. And again, still today, that can happen. And I went through the process, and she offered to spark me out one day because I didn't go to my home group anyway. That line of sponsorship ended and I got another sponsor. Please God, she's not going to listen to this. But she was unwell, and then she went out the door shortly after that. And that's the thing, isn't it? That pedestal that we put people on, it's like we are just a drug addict, just trying our best. And I went through and got another sponsor who took me through and highlighted some other stuff. And now drink and drugs are like so far away, and now it's Maxine. And it's like that set of steps was about this. And every time since, it's been about this. It's been about the decisions that Maxine makes. You know, like I said at the beginning, like I made a decision, but do I make a choice every day? You know, I know what it is that I am. I looked myself in the mirror right at the beginning and I said, you know, you've never completed anything. You just want to flutter and half measures avail us nothing and all of that stuff. And I just want to do the bare minimum that I can to get by. And then when I made a decision to come in here this time with the Robocop feet and pick up my white key ring, it's like, right, I'm going to put what I give to everybody else into this. And as long as I do that, I'm told if I thoroughly follow the path, I'll be okay. And that has been my experience. You know, I celebrated 10 years, and then it's not a yay me, it's like yay God. Like, because I just know how to drink and use. I just know how to cause misery to myself and others. I just know how to get myself into pickles. I really do. You know, my clean time, it's been quite difficult. There's been turbulence, not always caused by me, but sometimes caused by me. And what I was told is you do those suggestions, phone people, get to a meeting, get a reading, get there early, reach out to people, try and get out of self, be of service, turn up at meetings, open your mouth when you don't want to, face the fear and do it anyway. And that's what the kind of stuff that I try and do. And that's kept me here, regardless of what's going on outside. And there's been some stuff, you know, like I said, at 5 years ago, I lost my mum. My mum was the focal point of my resentments, but she was also my mum, you know. And it's a dysfunctional relationship and a dysfunctional childhood that I had. I had an opportunity to make amends, and my mum just said to me, her last words when they said that she couldn't speak anymore was like, Maxine, promise me you'll be okay. And she kept saying it, and the doctors are saying to me, she can't cognitively understand what you're saying, but she's going, Maxine, repeat these words, I will be okay. And she just wanted me not to hurt her husband at the time. And again, through sponsorship and this program, my sponsor talked me through that every single day and dealt with the resentments every single day towards him. And I wanted to kill him. I'm going to be honest with you. I wanted to kill him because that was my mum. And there was some stuff that happened. And I was able to carry my mum's coffin on the day of her funeral, accept the fact that he called her what he wanted to call her in the eulogy, and deal with my, you know, and in that process, he got my sister hooked on heroin, and she's out there now selling herself on the streets. And it's like praying for forgiveness, praying for forgiveness, praying for forgiveness. I just want to hurt people, you know, left to my own devices. And it's like that spiritual disease, and the resentment is the number one offender, and from it stems all forms of, and I can be all those characters just on the back of a little resentment, just because somebody doesn't want to hug me or somebody doesn't want to say hello to me. Like I'm the nucleus again, like the actress. But I carried my mum's coffin I spoke with dignity. I stared at my sponsor as I walked in. My legs were trembling, and I honoured my mum to the best of my ability. And that was this. That was people coming before me, sharing me and telling me how they could get through it. And they did. So I believed I could if I just did what I was told. And I did what I was told for the first time probably in my life. About 8 years clean, I went on a lull. You know, you have that lull where I'm doing all these 5 meetings and I'm being of service and I'm running around and I'm running around and I'm running around and my body's depleted and I'm a workaholic and I can't see it. I'm the last to know. We're the last to know sometimes, and I was the last to know. And it was mental. Anyone that was like in my space would be like, Maxine, what are you doing? Managing these 2 jobs, managing this thing. And I was like, it's all right, spin, 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 it's all right. And then crash, migraine, not eating. And I asked somebody to sponsor me and take me through, and it was like what they had was the gift of the gab, and that was great. That's great if you've got the gift of the gab. But wow, okay. So I asked this lady to sponsor me, and you know, and I take ownership for it. I take ownership for it because ultimately the sponsor has only got their own experience, and if I'm seeking within that knowledge to sound good, but a non-application of, then where does the problem lie? It's me and my judgment, right? And lack of courage. I couldn't get out of it. And so I found myself in this triangle of partner and sponsorship, and it was so very sick and it was so very poorly, and I just couldn't do it. And you know, we lay a lot at our sponsors' doors, and I found myself laying a lot at my sponsor, and I couldn't take responsibility for decisions that I was making. And I got into a relationship with somebody who was an intravenous using addict who hadn't had a spiritual experience. Now, if this was America, you'd all get up at this point and you'd leave the room, and I'd be judged. And rightly so. Rightly so.
We love you, Max.
Wow.
And I'd love to sit here and say, yay, I didn't use. But I absolutely believe that I had a part to play. And the reality of that is I got in the way of his spiritual experience. I believed that I could take him to 7 meetings a week. I believed that my enthusiasm and zest for this program would carry depth and weight. Forgetting, didn't believe I was God. I believed I was so connected to God. And it was a lie. It was a lie. And Thomas passed away, as most of you know, in January. And I realised that for a while I'd turned it, I'd done the work, but I hadn't made a decision on that day, or the days probably for the 18 months. I couldn't hear God. I couldn't hear. There was time and time again where everything was showing me, and I just became the actress. I exerted myself more. My will, you know, my control, my ability to do more and do more, because I'm really good at that. I was saying to the lady outside, we're like critters, right? You get in the way and we just bend and adjust. And yeah, painful. And yay, I didn't use through it. But I wanted to die, and regularly wanted to top myself, and regularly got to a place where it's like there was more people. I think I said it to you, Michelle, when I came here, there was more people that side in heaven than there are here for me. That's a reality. My mum, my sister, Thomas. And I had to dig really deep, and I had to stop running around for the women that don't take this stuff seriously. And I had to stop being around people who want to absorb everything they can from me spiritually and leave me drained and desolate. And I had to stop caregiving, and I had to sit with the tortoise that I bought him for Christmas, because that's what an intravenous drug addict with no problem, with no program needs, right, is a fucking £500 tortoise. And so I'm left with a tortoise who carries his house every day and looks at me as if to say, you know, lettuce, baby corn is the tortoise crap, let me tell you. But so I sat with this tortoise in so much pain, Void. There was no God. There was silence. There was silence. I had to let go of the sponsor. I had to block the sponsor. We had no contact. I was sponsorless. I believe that a lady got put in my path, and she was there, and she was on the phone, and I could speak to maybe 2 people. I couldn't phone a newcomer. I couldn't turn up at meetings. I couldn't speak to anybody. I couldn't get ourselves and phone, like, how are you? I don't care how you are. Don't care. Genuinely don't care. I want to throttle you. Anyone that wanted to make eye contact with me, I wanted to hurt them. I felt so much like a Rizzler that I can't even describe any more than that. I felt in so much pain. And the turning point was my friend who I live with came in, and I had these tablets that were a detox that he got for somebody else, shifty. But I had this detox in my hand, and she came in. I hadn't slept for about 4 days. And again, and she came in and said to me, Maxine, we need to talk. And I'd always had this mindset that I wasn't going to go on antidepressants. And anyway, I've ended up going on antidepressants at 10 years clean, 9 years clean. And they've been a saving grace. I'm not going to lie, they've been a saving grace. That and a rejig at my program, and prayer and meditation. I was saying, I don't pray like this, I pray like this, and it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. Whoever comes, honestly. And I believe that over the last, 6 months, the prayers that I honestly give of myself to the power that I am connected to are so heartfelt, because I've had to have this experience of what it feels like to be in this program, working it to an ability, not really understanding my mind and all of that stuff, and just forgetting of where this disease lies and where it centres, and that everything that comes out of Maxine's nut is insane. Like, I need my people. I need people to be like, this is probably not a good idea. Have you thought about this properly? Everything, even now. Through this program, I've just started EMDR. If you need outside help, maybe don't wait till 10 years in. I want to go back through the steps again. I want to look a little bit deeper again. What I was told is get a sponsor, get a book, have your own experience. Once you identify yourself as an addict, alcoholic, only a spiritual experience and a vital change, which is in the 1 to 12. I got it twisted and was just attending loads of meetings and flirting and loads of coffee shops and loads of 1 to 12. You'll have a change in thought and attitude. That happened. And that's what gave me the ability to make choices, sometimes same, sometimes not. I suppose my story is experience, strength and hope of a drug addict program, got clean, still fuck up. And that's kind of it. If you're here, you have landed. You've landed on gold, you really have. I pray that you listen and, take something from the people that have come before you and know what it is that they suffer with. People can help you here. You don't have to suffer alone. You certainly don't have to wake up feeling like that anymore. There is a guaranteed solution, and it's in the 1 to 12, and I'll leave it there.